What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, we're bringing you a Colts versus Rams preview, and we have a very special guest. His name is Jake, not Jake from State Farm. I had to throw that one in there. But Jake Ellenbogen, co-host of the Downtown Rams podcast, and so much more. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, Derek. It's nice to meet you. Appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited for this week. I got a lot of respect for the Colts, and I was telling you, shout out to my boy Evan Shefkowitz. He is he's a listener, and he actually had mentioned your podcast, and then right after that, you reach out and you're like, "Hey, you want to come on the show?" So love that, but yeah, happy to be here.
Love it, man. Yeah, I was like, we're playing the Rams. I have to ask you to come on here, man. I had to get you on. It's a big game, man, for sure. Outside of the Philadelphia-Tampa Bay game, which has two undefeated teams right now, I'd say this is probably the most anticipated matchup of Week 4. Two teams that are, looking promising right now in a lot of different ways. And obviously, we're going to get into it. But before we get started, guys, just want to say this episode is sponsored by FanDuel. You know that we've been saying it, guys. The Colts right now, we are the underdogs going into the Rams right now. Not surprising. It's our first big road trip this year. We did go on the road last week, but obviously going from East Coast to West Coast, it is a challenge. So only a 3.5 point spread. So it's not, they're keeping the Colts honest. But right now, Jake, the over-under is set at 49.5 right now. What are you thinking? Are you thinking over or are you thinking under for those odds?
I'm going to take the over. Yeah, because I have, how many points do I have total? 53? Yeah.
As I say, I think I had 55 when it came to this game. So, yeah, I'll go over. I think both of these offenses are going to have a good day. So we'll continue to hop into that. But again, shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this episode. Now, man, obviously, Colts versus Rams. You said it at the top of the show. You have a lot of respect for the Colts. 3-0, I mean, for the Indianapolis Colts right now, they are definitely one of the hottest teams in the NFL to start out the year. What has surprised you about the Indianapolis Colts, and why do you respect what it is they're doing to start the year?
Yeah, so this is going to sound funny, but Daniel Jones is not the thing that's surprising me on this team, because I was actually very high on him when he joined Shane Steichen. I was like, I actually really like this fit, so much so in my Dynasty League, I went out and bought low on him. But Daniel Jones looks really good, and Jonathan Taylor looks back to 2021 for him. Tyler Warren, we know what he can do. Obviously, Michael Pittman Jr., and then you have guys, Alec Pierce is a guy I loved in the draft. And then, they have guys like Josh Downs and what have you. But the offensive line, which has been good, like that doesn't surprise me. The defensive line, the development of a Tyquan Lewis, it took a little bit, but he's gotten going. He had a really good game last week. Just really impressed with that defensive front. Love the back end of the secondary when you have, Cam Bynum and, Nick Cross. I think those are two of the better safeties in football, probably one of the better tandems. So I think they complement each other well. So I'm looking at this team and, I watched all 3 games on all 22, and I think there's a lot to like about the Colts. I think they are legit. I think the biggest telltale sign, and I know that they didn't play on the road, but the fact that they were able to go toe-to-toe with the Broncos and win that game, and I don't care how it ended, they won the game. I thought that was really telling. I thought Daniel Jones looked really good. Now, I don't think this team's perfect, but I also think they're going to get better over the course of time. And I think that's the biggest thing. Some weaknesses I've seen, this team on 3rd and long seems to be susceptible to being stopped. They're 26th in red zone touchdown scoring percentage. They do give up every time a team gets into the red zone, they give up a touchdown. So those are some weaknesses that I noticed in the first 3 games, but this is going to be the best team that they've faced to this point, and probably going to be one of the better teams they face all year. And I think the Colts are a lot better than giving credit for. I think in a lot of ways, they're kind of like a step lower version of the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's kind of how I see them.
Yeah, I mean, hey, a lot of people, they're still hesitant. I mean, there's a lot of places that even with the Colts being 3-0, don't want to put the Colts in their top 10 for some weird reason. I don't
That's weird.
approve of that. That is bizarre. And again, people continue to discredit the Indianapolis Colts, saying that the records overall of the three teams that they beat is not very good, which, I mean, in retrospect, a lot of the great teams that are being played right now, they're also beating teams that don't have great records. So I don't know what the point of that is.
I have them fourth, by the way.
It's the goalpost ever moving all the time when it comes to that. So I'm no stranger to that. But yeah, obviously we're going to LA, first time on the West Coast to face this Rams team. Give me just a quick summary, man. What have you seen from this Rams team this year, being 2-1 and about to face this Colts team?
Yeah, this team is as good as I expected. Maybe they're better than I expected, but I was really high on them. I have them winning the Super Bowl. I think they're, they had a chance last year. I think it really came down to that Philadelphia Eagles game. I think whoever won that game was going to beat the Commanders, and then I did not have any worry against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are falling off slowly but surely. But looking at the Rams, I think the things that they can do and they do well, this defense gets pressure. And they've gone up against some really good offensive lines. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they got pressure on Jalen Hurts. You look at the Texans, not a great offensive line.
Yeah.
But, I think the interior of the Titans is really good. And, the Colts were able to get 31 pressures on them. So, yeah, I think, the Rams have already had their opportunities against some tougher teams in like position groups of those teams. So, like, the Texans are 0-3, but I think the Texans are much better than that 0-3 record because I think what you're looking at is probably one of the better pass rushing tandems in the league, and Will Anderson and, of course, Danielle Hunter. So that was a huge barometer early on, and I thought the Rams tackles, while they struggled at times, I thought they did a nice job. That gets you ready to play a Laiatu Latu or a Kwity Paye or a Tyquan Lewis or a Samson Ebukam, right? So I feel like they're kind of ready for that. I think right now, the Rams, they're one of the more explosive teams in the league. They were leading the league in explosives last week. I don't know if they still are, so I'm not going to say they are, but they're among the best in the league at that. Really, the issues with the Rams have been Ahkello Witherspoon, their starting cornerbacks, out, so they don't have the size on the outside, and I think that's a mismatch for somebody like a Michael Pittman Jr. that could take advantage of that. We saw A.J. Brown do the same last week. I also think the interior offensive line, Kevin Dotson's been banged up. You might remember him or you might not remember him in 2023 when the Rams played the Colts and it was at Lucas Oil Stadium. That was actually his first start with the Rams. And then after that, their run game started, to actually click and their offense started to click. But that was his first start with the Rams. He was actually a backup to start the year, but he's really key and critical, and so is Steve Avila. The two guards, they've been banged up, and so what does that look like? Because if they don't play and they come out of the game, because Kevin Dotson came out of the game and Bo Limmer came into the game, and it's just been a struggle in the interior. Stafford's getting rid of the ball quickly, but those longer developing plays that the Rams want to be able to go to, they haven't been able to do that. So. That's a big weakness for them. And then I do think like the tackling in the secondary. So not only, covering the bigger body, receiver, but I think also the tackling, we saw that at the end of the game. But all in all, I think this Rams team has a lot going for it. One thing I really want to shout out is when watching the tape, I'm totally blanking on his name now for whatever reason. He blocked the field goal on Joey Sly. I don't know why.
I don't even remember when that. I know it got blocked after I watched it back, but I don't recall
that's
who it was that blocked it.
Yeah, it was Grover Stewart. So,
okay, it was Grover.
I don't know if you knew this, but the Rams have had 3 block kicks, and it's not been the Rams blocking them. It's the Rams getting blocked.
I'm sure everyone remembers last week. I'm sure that was hell for you.
Oh yeah, I don't recommend that. at all. So when I saw Grover Stewart block Joey Sly, I'm like, oh no.
If we're while we're on the talk of special teams, here's a crazy stat for you. Spencer Schrader has contributed more points this year for the Colts than Houston's entire offense this year.
That's wild.
He has 43 points through the first 3 weeks, and Houston has 38.
Man.
So
I don't love Schrader though, because if you're kicking field goals from outside the 50, I don't love that leg.
No, I don't love the leg either. I think the only problem is everyone saw him attempt to kick a 60-yarder in that Denver game, and it was off, and it's the first time ever that he missed something in his career, and then, proceeded to get a 15-yard penalty, and it made it easy. A lot easier. I mean, again, he's automatic from within 50 yards. I don't really ever have an issue with him in that range, but obviously, Steichen had a huge issue with the game management of that. We'll try to move on from that. You were talking about some of the injuries you had, especially on that offensive line. Yeah, I mean, and especially on the interior, because, you have Grover Stewart in the middle, who has, become not only one of the best run defenders in the league, but also a guy that's improving on his pass rush. And obviously DeForest Buckner, who's one of the premier defensive tackles in this league. The Colts are very star-studded in the middle, but lack that explosive tackling on the outside. So we'll have to see how it goes. Any other injuries that Colts fans need to think about going into this matchup besides your offensive line a little bit?
Well, I think on your side, Kenny Moore being out is huge. Absolutely huge. He's one of the best nickel corners in the league and has been for quite some time. So I don't know, is that Mekhi Blackman? Is that Mike Hilton?
Mike Hilton, it sounds like, will probably get the majority of the snaps. We just signed him this week. I know that he's not been in the room for more than a week, but he was a guy that was with Lou Anarumo, so he understands his tendencies. He understands he's a veteran guy. He obviously is very smart. So I would fully expect that Hilton probably gets the majority of the snaps. And to be completely honest, I don't know if I want Mekhi Blackman having to guard Puka Nacua the whole freaking game. That scares me. That's the one injury. Like, I can live without Alec Pierce this week because I know we have other weapons that can compensate for that. But Kenny Moore, it's been one of the best corners in the entire NFL this year. And to have that missing when you're going up against one of the premier wide receivers, that's going to be the matchup that I'll always keep an eye out for. So you brought up Daniel Jones earlier, and you said that his success this year isn't a surprise to you. I'll throw a stat out here for you. I think that might actually surprise you a little bit about just how improved he's been. So his QBR this year under pressure is a 97.5, which is very, very good when under pressure. His career coming into this year, it was 19 prior to that. So, I mean, it has taken a drastic jump. And it's not even been the fact that the Colts haven't been giving up pressure. Like, the Denver Broncos, they blitzed Daniel Jones on 71% of his dropbacks. And the Miami Dolphins blitzed on 55% of his dropbacks. And I'm pretty sure the Titans did somewhere between 50 and 60 as well. So it's not even the fact that, he's not facing pressure. I mean, teams are trying to come after him, and they are. And yet still somehow, some way, he's not really getting sacked often, and he's still making the throws on target in these pressure situations. I mean, when you see that going that way, how do you feel different with your team being able to generate pressure? And how do you think it would be different with your guys's versus the other teams that have tried to do it so far?
Great question. I think the first thing I'll start with is when you look at Daniel Jones, this is when playing with the Giants and constantly being pressured and then going into an environment where you actually have a good offensive line that can keep you upright. Now you've learned how to deal with that pressure because now you already know the instincts, his internal clock is quicker because he's probably shell shocked from the Giants. But now he's with the Colts and he's got an offensive line and he's a smart dude. Like, I know he gets a lot of flack and he has throughout his whole career. This guy's really smart. And I think the decision making has always been one of those things where, yeah, it looks bad, but who is he throwing to with the Giants? How often is this guy right before he's about to pull the trigger seeing somebody right in his face, right? So there are a lot of different aspects to that. But as far as Daniel Jones this year, he's been great no matter what it is. Clean pocket, under pressure, no blitz, under pressure with the blitz, right? I think you got to give him a lot of credit in that realm. But at the same time, I do think the Rams are going to be a little bit of a different look. That said, because I don't think the Broncos are quite where they're going to be. And I think the Rams defense is really, this is the litmus test. If he passes this one and you start to see him really, like, he's not getting sacked and they're not getting pressure. Like, first off, offensive line, sign me up for that. They're already a really good offensive line, but that's a really good sign. If Daniel Jones is getting rid of the ball quickly, because he gets rid of it at a 2.83 clip, which is, not the worst, not the best. Stafford's getting rid of it at the quickest in the league at 2.53, but that's because his offensive line can't pass protect right now, right? So that's just the reality there. But Daniel Jones, they're going to blitz him. They're going to pressure him. And the thing is, I think they are going to rattle him a little bit, but I'm expecting Daniel Jones to look like an improved quarterback in this game. When things do hit the fan, and I do believe they will for him, how do you respond? And I think he'll be able to respond. So that's really kind of where I'm at, is that you want to minimize the blows. Like, obviously, if they get in there and they're constantly sacking him and he doesn't have time to throw, that's not on him, right? But the way he's able to move throughout the pocket, that right there is what stood out to me. And there was a few plays throughout the year. You see Daniel Jones in the past with the Giants, and this is part of just getting better over time and having reps and having an offensive line. Now he's able to work on keeping his eyes downfield. So the play never dies. And running, which used to be a main thing that he liked to do, now it's a last-ditch effort. I'm not doing it unless I have to do it. But when I do it, and I do run out of the pocket, I'm keeping my eyes downfield so the play never dies. As soon as I drop my eyes, it's like in Madden when, like, all you take off and run, and all the buttons are no longer there. It's like, oh, I guess I can't even throw. That's what it's like. So he's done a really nice job of keeping his eyes downfield, really surveying the field and making plays. And I just think that stems from confidence. I think it stems from that experience with the Giants, the experience now with the Colts, and a legitimate teacher, quarterback whisperer in Shane Steichen.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, everything that's been different for Daniel Jones this year. I mean, we could go for 2 hours talking about why Daniel Jones is different this year and everything else. So we'll talk about a few of them reasons here before getting to my defense. Jonathan Taylor, you briefly mentioned him earlier. Again, running like one of the best running backs in the NFL right now. Crazy that this guy was left off the top 100 players list. I don't know what the players are thinking, but honestly, Jake, this is the first time since 2021 that he's genuinely healthy, like 100% healthy going into the season. And he looks it. And he is just running through people at a rate that, like you said, we haven't seen since 2021. He's on pace to have almost 1,900 yards rushing this year and almost 20 touchdowns again if he keeps this pace up. How do you feel going up against a Jonathan Taylor in this matchup? I don't know how good your run defense has been so far, but I would argue to say that this is probably the best running game that you've seen yet this year.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And Eagles fans will probably complain because when don't they complain? But Saquon Barkley he didn't get going to that point, going into that Rams game. And then in addition to that, while he hasn't really blown up yet in any game, going into the Rams game, the Rams had a game plan. They went out, they had a game plan in the offseason. They went out and got Nate Landman, who was going to help them at linebacker against the run. And they went out and got Poona Ford. And instantaneously, they saw results. It was great game plan. They really just sold out to stop the run. And that's why Saquon Barkley only ran for 48 yards, like 2.6 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor, as you've brought up, is healthy. Jonathan Taylor had one of the best runs you'll see in, I'd say, the rest of the season, maybe the rest of next season and the season after that. That run was so key and critical because I felt like that game, the Titans were kind of hanging in there a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was the dagger where he just is like, basically he took the ball and was like, okay, I'm going to win this game right now.
Right.
And that's what he did. Spin move, juke. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the contact balance is on the level of 2021 because you can't just, throw your helmet into his thigh, because if you throw your helmet into his thigh, this guy's big. He's big in the lower half. He's big in the upper half. And so, he's hard to bring down. And you have that game-breaking speed. You have the pass-catching ability. Yeah, he's an absolute problem. He is he's not the X factor. He is the key to this game for the Colts. If they want to win this game, they got to get him going. If this looks like Saquon Barkley last week, then I think it's going to put more pressure on Daniel Jones than he can have for a game like this. I think Daniel Jones can manage the game and then go above and beyond if needed, but he needs to have that run game with it. If he doesn't have the run game, now you're going to be asking him to do a little too much. Right. But I think that could be said about any quarterback, really. If you don't have a run game, you're kind of limited in what you can do, especially in a Steichen offense like that. But no, I'm really happy for Jonathan Taylor. Am I excited for the Rams to go against him? Not really, but hey, I wasn't excited to see Saquon Barkley and they held him in check. I think the Rams, though, are going to give up a big run or two. I think right now, looking at the body language, Jonathan Taylor's a better running back than Saquon Barkley right now here on September 25th. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like in November or December. Right. But right now, Jonathan Taylor looks like the more fresh, more ready to go running back. And say what you will, but in the passing game, Saquon Barkley was dropping passes before a defender even got there. So it just doesn't feel like he's fully where he's going to be. And Jonathan Taylor looks like he's, starting off this season, shooting off like a cannon.
Well, and, I think there's a couple of different reasons for that. One, I think that the Eagles' offensive game plan is not as well balanced as the Indianapolis Colts' offensive game plan is, which helps Jonathan Taylor to get some more of those big runs. And the blocking concepts that the Colts have, a lot of teams, they will just, block straight forward and then just ask guys to hit the right hole. The Colts send so many different guys in motion. It's absolutely insane. It's so hard for defenses to have to know which gap Jonathan Taylor's actually going to go through. And even in the Denver game, there was multiple times Denver had him in the backfield, but yet he broke it for a big run because all he had to do was make one guy miss. And he's been able to do that this year. So love what I'm seeing from him. Last question about the offense. So obviously no Alec Pierce for this game, but as far as weapons go for the Colts, is there anyone in particular that you're keeping an eye out for that could alter the course of this game if they get going?
Oh, without a doubt. And I could tell you it's Tyler Warren. We saw last week they get Dallas Goedert involved, and that's when all of a sudden, the game switched. Say what you will about A.J. Brown, and that's obvious. We talked about Pittman, but you get Tyler Warren going. This is a chain mover. This is a guy who you're going to need multiple guys to tackle. He's hard to bring down. Watched plenty of him at Penn State. Watched plenty of tape on him. I know who he is. And a lot of Rams fans wanted him in LA for a reason. So, no, this is a player that can absolutely take over a game. Inside the numbers, he's going to be dangerous. Outside the numbers, if you want to, move him out wide, he's a mismatch. And in addition to that, he's going to help you in the red zone as well. I don't even know if he's caught a touchdown yet. That will be coming. It will definitely be happening soon. So I think that's a really big thing. And I think the Rams have done a decent job against tight ends, but you did see like Dalton Schultz at times was able to move the chains and Achiga Okonkwo. I will say on the other side of things, the Rams should be able to get things going with their tight ends because
Yes.
Chigakonkwo was open the whole game, it felt like.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of, wow, Cam, why'd you throw it to the guy that's dropped 5 passes today and Calvin Ridley? You had Chig wide open, at midfield, and you go to Calvin Ridley for 2 and he drops it anyway. So yeah, that was an interesting one. I was not expecting when I went through and I watched. I was not expecting Chigoziem Okonkwo to be wide open for the entirety of the game.
Our linebackers are trash, bro. Our linebackers are so trash in pass coverage. It's absolutely insane.
I will say, I really like Zaire Franklin. It's just that's not his strong suit. He's a fantastic tackler.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great tackler, no doubt, but it's being anywhere close to the guy that's catching the football. That's the different story. But yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I'm amazed Tyler Warren hasn't had a touchdown yet because Steichen doesn't seem to throw the football in the red zone. I don't know why, like, half the time he doesn't want to throw the football. They always want to run it when we get inside the 20. And it's like, it really limits what has been happening, and it's why the Indianapolis Colts have been so bad in the red zone this year, converting touchdowns, because Steichen just seems to think that we'll be able to maul whoever's in front of us, and then Jonathan Taylor will do the rest. And half the time it doesn't work. And I'm like, I don't understand. You have this Tyler Warren character, and you have 3 or 4 other guys that are 6'4" and taller, and yet somehow, some way, you never think to use that size in the red zone. I don't understand. I'm like, you can't possibly sit here and tell me that a Michael Pittman on the outside, you throw a 50-50 ball, and who's 6'4" and can jump out the gym, doesn't have a decent shot at taking on a corner that's 6 foot or 6'1", and you're telling me they don't have a chance of just snagging a 50-50? I don't understand it. I don't, and I hate it. Who knows if Steichen will ever learn his lesson? I doubt he does. But
this week, I'm telling you right now, Derek, what I'm hearing is that everything that they've done to this point, they're not going to do against the Rams, because the Rams will absolutely stifle your run game in the red zone unless you do the tush push and you're the Eagles. But,
the illegal, about 5 different penalties on every tush push ever that never gets called because, the NFL doesn't care. So.
Yeah. My favorite is when Jalen Hurts is just kind of floating there on top of the pile and they don't blow the whistle. And then you rip the ball out and they're like, well, no. We were going to blow the whistle.
My favorite is the center being over the ball. I'm like, I'm looking at the angle and I'm like, the center should never be over the ball.
Right guard Tyler Steen, he jumped like way before the play. Yeah.
Yeah, the guards jump early, the center's over the ball, and like there's not a 1 second pause between anything. So that's 3 penalties just right there. I'm sure I can name a few more.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways.
Oh, let's definitely not go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
we'll be here all day.
We'll be on there forever. Anyways, let's get to the defense here for the Colts for a second. So, how confident are you in your run game going into this matchup? I know Kyren Williams, a lot of people give him a lot of flack. I don't know why specifically, but I like Kyren Williams. I think he's like a stepped down version of Jonathan Taylor. He's the guy that'll get you the tough yards, the guy that's just going to drag you forever. And, he just wears you down because, again, he's a big dude. He's certainly no pushover. Colts have been hit or miss when it comes to stopping the run. I told you before, the interior of the Colts defense, we got some of the best run-stopping defensive tackles in the league. But if you're trying to run the football, you want to run the football outside the tackles because the Colts edge protectors are not very good in that department. How do you feel about Kyren Williams and his ability to run the football this Sunday?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see a good game out of the run game. The big issue was when they stopped running the football last week, averaged 5.2 yards per carry against a Philly defensive front that you just don't think you can even average 5.2 yards per carry. So the Rams basically stopped themselves. Kyren is more of, running in the gap, scheme right now, which is interesting because I do feel like he's a bit of a zone guy, but they've been running that with Blake Corum. Blake has been getting all the outside zone runs. And, I think they've really done a nice job, kind of going 1-2 punch because Kyron, it's subtle, but they asked him to add weight. And Blake Corum, it's subtle, but they asked him to lose some weight. And so I think Blake Corum has gotten a little shiftier. He's gotten a little faster than last year. And I think Kyron looks pretty much the same, although I'd say he's a little bit more explosive, but I think he's stronger. And we saw that last week. He was breaking tackles, against the Eagles and forcing, moving the chains. And then obviously in pass pro, he's huge. But I think the run game is going to be able to get going, because that's one thing you can say, even though it's been a revolving door at guard for the most part, I think they've done a really nice job run blocking. This is one of the better run blocking teams in the NFL right now, despite the fact they can't pass protect. And a big reason for that, is just the fact that they run an offense that is catered to it. And, they have not been afraid to change and mix up what they do. They were more of a zone blocking scheme. Then they became more of a gap, and that's kind of the interesting thing. I will also say they run more 12 personnel than they really ever have. I think it was like 61%. And they're like 11th in the league in 12 personnel usage. That's pretty crazy when you think of the Rams, because since McVay became the head coach, they have been the poster child of the 11 personnel grouping. And so now we're seeing more 12. We're seeing 2 tight end sets. But I think, really they haven't gotten those tight ends going in the passing game. So it's made it harder to throw out of the 12. But when they're running out of the 12, they're having as much success as really anybody. So I expect a pretty good game from Kyron and Blake Corum for sure.
Yeah, if you want to talk about 12 personnel, the Indianapolis Colts are the poster child of running that. I mean, we definitely run it a lot more often than almost any other team.
You also throw to your tight ends, though. So it's not like, the Rams don't do that.
It was originally just to keep Jonathan Taylor upright and get him some yardage, which obviously that works. But now when you have a tight end like Tyler Warren, you can utilize in other different areas like that. Definitely helps. So what's the key to success if the Indianapolis Colts want to have any chance at stopping Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua in this pass game? Obviously, no, Nacua, Adams, your 2 leading wide receivers by a long shot. You guys don't really utilize a ton of other guys out there on a more regular scale, but obviously it goes through Nacua and Adams. What do the Colts need to do to try to slow them down?
Yeah, well, I think really if you can take Puka Nacua out of the game, right? If you can find a way, bracket him, whatever you have to do, and you bet on Devontae Adams, well, Puka Nacua is going to be the guy closest to the quarterback, right? Adams is your true X receiver. He's going to be further downfield. That means it's going to take Stafford a little bit longer to get to him than it is to just dump it off to Puka. So I think if the Colts want to win this game, they find a way to take Puka out of it. I'm not talking about injuring him, but find a way to take him out of it. Yeah, I mean that is
he had to make sure he threw that one in there, guys. We don't need no bounty gate stuff here.
Well, no, I had to throw it in there because the Texans didn't get that memo. So,
we say that in the AFC South roundtable all the time. We always make fun of the Texans defense because they always have guys that are injuring other people all the time.
It was crazy. I mean, Puka got. I don't know if you saw, he was bleeding from his eye.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he just kept getting hit helmet to helmet, whether it was Shair or what's his face? Toho. Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, I don't think they're a dirty team. I just think they have a couple guys that like to go head hunting. We'll say,
yeah.
but yeah, I think if you're able to contain Puka Nacua, and you force Stafford to have to go to Adams, he doesn't have the rapport with Adams that he does with Nacua.
Right.
It's that simple. And then if you're able to do that, well, now you're forcing the Rams' hands because they haven't really been targeting Jordan Whittington and Tutu Atwell and Tyler Higbee. And while they should be and they can, I don't know what that looks like because there's not also the rapport isn't there, compared to Puka Nacua. So
right.
I feel like if you can limit him and you get the pass rush there and Stafford's holding it a little bit too long and you force some turnovers or what have you, that's going to be your way to win. I also think the kicking unit, if you're able to block kicks and the Rams can't attempt kicks anymore. That's going to be away. I actually, I look at special teams, and I think Anthony Gould was on the injury report due to an illness, but I would expect him to play.
Yeah.
And I think Gould is somebody that can take it back to the house. So something like that, when you think a game is going to be close and you feel like these two teams, which I do, I mean, I have the Rams power rank 3. I do think they're the best team in the league, but they lost, so I moved them down. The Rams 3, the Colts 4 for me. So I have the 3 and 4 teams going at each other. What does that tell you? This game's going to be close. Well, if you can get any sort of advantage, field position, right? A turnover, and that's another thing. Stafford can throw interceptions. He threw a bad one to start the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Cameron Bynum. I'm looking at somebody like that, and I'm like,
please let me see
Johnny
one
on
more
the spot.
Interception celebration. I need to see one. We haven't seen one since Denver. I got to see another interception celebration, man. He says he has 3 lined up in his head every single game. I need to see one of them, man.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, too, the Colts are one of only 3 teams that have not turned the ball over yet this year. And obviously, the only 3 teams that have actually not turned the ball over yet, all are undefeated. That's Philly, Tampa Bay, and us. So let me ask you. So the big story has been that the Colts don't punt. It's the season of no punting. We've punted once through the first 3 weeks. I think we're the only team in NFL history to ever do that. Over under on 2.5 punts for this game that your defense is going to force on us.
I'm going to take the over.
You're going to take the over? Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think because it's tough, man. I could absolutely see them being the team. They just go down the field, kick a field goal, whatever. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, this defense, when they get going, it's as much as the corners struggled in the second half, let's not forget they held Jalen Hurts to -1 passing yards in the first half.
Sheesh.
So, you know what I mean? I can see this game. I think this game is going to be really close.
I will say this. I don't think the Eagles' passing offense has been good at all this year. I think it's been pretty bad.
No. It's and like you mentioned, it doesn't have the balance that the Colts have, and that's actually their issue. But no, I feel like this defense, though, the way they've been playing, people are going to forget because they're going to be like, "Oh, the second half they were terrible," and they're going to come out and they're at SoFi. And that feeling of being at home, there's really nothing like it.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're the Chargers, then you're never at home.
But then especially because after a big loss like that, you're so amped to want to get back out there and remind people that was just a fluke, and you're going to come back and you're going to be ready to go 100%.
And not just that, Derek, but it's not just a fluke, but the idea it was legit. We were there, and it took all of this stuff for us to lose on the road 3,000 miles away from our home,
right,
to the defending Super Bowl champions, and now people want to act like that's not a big deal. I feel like anybody who's facing the Rams this weekend, if it was the Colts, which it is, but even if it was the Eagles, I just don't think anybody would beat the Rams this weekend coming off that, because I think Sean McVay is going to have these guys in the right mindset afterwards. And I already think they're incredibly talented. They have so many different ways that they can win. And yeah, I feel like this is probably the game where some of those things like not punting, and Daniel Jones hasn't really been sacked that often. I think some of those things will kind of, start to dissipate there. But I do have a belief in the Colts this year. And I mean, really, it's going to be tough because I don't know how good Jacksonville is. I guess we'll find out this weekend. But I mean, this should be the Colts division. I picked the Texans. I was very high on the Texans coming in. They're 0-3 already. They'll be 1-3. They'll probably beat the Titans, and they'll probably turn it around a little bit. But I don't think they got enough steam to get, basically outdo the Colts. If the Colts keep doing this, they get off to this start and they keep it up. And I think this team is going to get better too, because they got some young pieces that are only going to get better with time. So, Yeah, that's what I would say. But real quick shout out, Laiatu Latu had one of the craziest plays I think I've ever seen in coverage. The interception he had was against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
What the hell? That was you're talking about just another level of athlete and just
Lou,
everything that he's been through with the neck issues. Like
mhm.
a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, Lou has been dropping our edges in coverage a lot. Like it's actually been a very common trend. I've noticed it a lot. So
Yeah,
he throws exotic looks at people. So we'll have to see how that works.
Stafford knows. He
Yeah,
beat him in the
Stafford
Super
knows
Bowl.
how to deal with it. I'm very concerned about that, obviously. I know what Stafford has done throughout his entire career, especially here with the Rams. I'm still salty at the fact that, the Indianapolis Colts failed to secure the deal that you guys stole him from us because he was looking at homes in Indianapolis. And then all of a sudden, the Rams come in, steal him, and Ballard didn't want to pay him more. So it
Oh
is what it
man.
is. But so yeah, I only expect two guys to miss this game. That's Kenny Moore and Alec Pierce. I expect everyone else to play. I will say this: the one thing that does concern me the most, special teams wise, and I don't think it's mattered as much through the first three games, just simply because we haven't faced a lot of great offenses yet. But with this one, it concerns me because our average start for our opponents on their drives is right around the 35-yard line. Like, I mean,
Oh.
teams are, our kickoff coverage is bad. I'm amazed we have not given up a touchdown yet
Oh,
on the
you might
kickoff
then.
coverage. It might this weekend. I mean,
This
I'm waiting for when
yeah.
it does happen because it is bad, dude. So, I mean, if you guys are starting your drives beyond the 30, which it feels like 90% of the drives that teams have against the Colts seem to get, it's going to be bad against an offense like yours that can actually move the ball consistently down the field the way that they do, because then you only have to get 30, 35 yards, and then all of a sudden you're easy field goal range. So I'm definitely concerned about that. But I won't take up much more of your time, man. I do want to ask you about a score prediction, so I need you to give me yours.
All right. So it was tough for me. Last time these two faced off, I went to OT. Got to give the Colts a lot of credit for making that a game. Anthony Richardson, probably the best game of his career, if we're being honest. 30-23, I got the Rams winning. I think they are the better team, but I think this Colts team over the course of the season, like, it's interesting, right? We got the Bills, which that's not the case, but back in the day when you had the Chargers and the Colts, maybe the Patriots, because they're one of my sleeper teams, but like kind of the older teams, right? Like that we're used to them being in the playoffs. I kind of feel like we're getting kind of at least in the AFC, aside from the Bills, I feel like we're getting something like that. But no, I think the Colts, I just don't think they're going to be able to do enough in this one to get it done, but I think they'll be in it all the way. And I just trust the Rams at home. And to be fair, this is such a tough game to play following the Rams losing like that.
Right.
I think they're going to be so pissed. You don't even know how pissed they were when they lost in the playoffs. Everybody in that locker room assumed that they were going to have 29 and they were going to be the victors of that game. And, finishing 13 yards away and then getting a chance and dominating them for most of the game and then letting them come back and winning that either will cripple you or will make you even tougher. I'm going to go with the latter every time when Sean McVay's the head football coach. That I got news for you. So that's what I have.
Yeah, man. Again, I could very well see this game going either way. Both of these teams have, achieved great things to start this year, and both these teams are top 10 teams. So I love what I'm seeing. I think that just because I'm riding on the high of the Indianapolis Colts right now, again, I could have never imagined being 3-0 and then coming into LA with as much hype as it's been. I mean, it's just the fact that the Colts offense has just been doing things that we haven't seen in 15 years with this team. Like, we're talking all the way back to the Peyton Manning glory days of the Indianapolis Colts. Like, that's the numbers that the Colts are putting up right now. And we're going to see how it looks against a much better opponent in the Rams. Do the Colts continue to ride on that? Do they, I doubt that they'll hit a brick wall and completely stop. I think that they have everything that they need to keep it going, but I'm curious to see how well it actually looks. And until the Colts actually lose one, I'm not going to pick against them. I say it's going to be 28-27, a very close matchup here. I'm excited, dude. I'm excited. These are two really good teams, and I'm just excited for a good game.
Well, I'm excited for you guys because, I do think the Rams win, like I said, but you got the Raiders upcoming, then you got the Cardinals. I'm not as high in Arizona as everybody else is.
Yeah, I'm not either.
So, that would be what, 5-1?
Yeah, if we didn't beat you guys, it would be great to go 5-1. I certainly hope that none of those games we fall, because that's always been the problem, is the Indianapolis Colts, they would always fall victim to a team that they shouldn't be losing to, but they do. I just feel like this year's different. I know that it's just 3 games, but I just have this feeling that this team just is doing things differently this year with some of the new faces that are in here now.
I feel that. I'm not seeing a ton of scary, teams on this schedule. Like, like
we play you guys, and then we have 2 weeks of games where we're favored. Then we're coming back to LA to face the Chargers. And then, we got a couple of divisional opponents after that.
I think the 2 LA teams are the best teams that you're going to face.
Yeah, probably. I think we play Buffalo, I believe. I can't remember. I thought we played Buffalo at some point, but other than that,
nope.
You're right.
Not play Buffalo.
This Rams team and the Chargers are probably going to be the best teams that we face all year. Like, even with the Chiefs, I'm not insanely worried about them right now.
No.
I feel, and ironically enough, the one team in the NFL that Patrick Mahomes has yet to beat is the Indianapolis Colts. And he's faced them twice, and he hasn't beaten us yet. So I hope that streak continues.
Yeah, the way that they're playing, 12-5, 13-4 is not out of the realm of possibility.
I hope so, man. I can't let myself get that excited. I'm just taking it 1 week at a time. I'm hoping to not let my inner Colts fan achieve this level of excitement to where if the Colts do inevitably drop off a cliff, that it's going to shatter my soul. I'm trying not to be there.
That's fair.
Because us Colts fans, we have gone through it so much over the last 7 years. I'm trying really hard, man. I obviously am trying to be extremely excited about this. Being 3-0 to start the year, it's not even just the fact that the Colts are winning, but they're dominating the teams that they should be dominating. And then obviously in a game in Denver where it's going back and forth. Most of the time the Colts lose those types of games. So again, it's just the difference of all these different players in here that are adding veteran experience. It just feels like this team has a completely different vibe to it right now. They're high on themselves and they know that they can do this. Again, it's so weird because people are talking to me about this upcoming Rams game, and it's like everyone's like, this is a must win for Indy. And I'm like, I don't really think this is a must win. Like, obviously you want to see how they look versus a Rams team that is clearly better than any team that we faced so far. But we win or lose this game, unless we get blown out by you guys. I'm not really going to sit here and suggest that this Colts team is in a bad way, whether they win or lose. It doesn't really change my feeling about it.
No, I agree. I don't think, regardless of what happens in the Rams game, I don't think it changes my opinion on the Colts at all. That Denver game wasn't easy. I just think their record, they should be winning that division. They should.
They have
every opportunity. They started off 3-0. Still got 2 games against Jacksonville, 2 games against Houston if Houston gets hot. So you control your own destiny. I know it sounds funny to say because it's week 3, but it's true.
Yeah.
You do. And I don't feel like your schedule is that brutal, but I think your schedule has enough, tipping points where it's like the Rams, the Chargers, the Denver Broncos, the Chiefs. I mean, like you and I both agree, we're not that high on the Chiefs. Seattle, I think, is going to be a tough game. That, to me, week 15 in Seattle, that's going to be a brutal game. But these are good games that you need to really kind of figure out where you are. And we're going to know a lot about the Colts very soon. So, I would say that Chargers game week 7 will tell us everything.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fun watch, man. And Jake, I want to thank you again for coming on here, educating us about, this Rams team. And I appreciate you, man.
Oh, of course. I appreciate you having me on, Derek. I've seen your show. Really nice job. It's why my guy Evan loves it. So keep doing what you're doing. And this was fun. I enjoyed it.
Definitely. Well, again, shout out to FanDuel again for sponsoring this episode. And again, guys, let us know in the comments what you're thinking going into this game. Let us know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.